1v1 set 3-0 and set 6.
And Yeray in the #1 spot for Fnatic, Andrew, a place he has not been all season.
Yeah, Yeray, who's been perfect in that 1v1 set 3-0 and set 6-0 in games. Now kicking things off, and Tribe goes with the exact same idea, getting their 1v1 stunner out first. Tommy going up against Yeray, and Fnatic cannot drop another game if they want to still be in contention for that third place spot. They got to win out all 5 of the next game and pick up at least 12 crowns, so something to pay very close attention to.
Yeah, got a couple crowns in that 2v2, so that should help, but man, a lot of ground to cover, and now you understand, it makes sense why Yeray, who's been their head-to-head specialist, is opening things up in King of the Hill this time out, but Tommy has certainly had some amazing performances throughout his career and this season as well.
Yeah, Tommy is just dead even at 13-13 in games here in head-to-head this season. 9-9 in King of the Hill, 4-4 in 1v1, and a guy that really is kind of made a name for himself since the first season he was at CRL. Struggled a bit in spring and early on in fall, but now seems to be back to exactly what you'd expect.
Which cycled in the back for Yeray. And minor wall breakers. Those wall breakers will connect. You know, it's interesting at this stage where we are right now to come back and see Tommy running minor wall breakers in a meta where they are the standard, because this time last year it was Tommy coming out with minor wall breakers, a slightly different deck with Inferno Tower. And it was when they were still 3 Elixir, and they looked strong then. He just ran into the one deck that they felt countered the deck he was building.
Yeah, it was a deck that he'd been really proud about. He'd been practicing with a lot. He'd had a lot of success to it, and just ran into a horrible matchup, and now firmly in the meta, 1 Elixir cheaper. Tommy goes back to his old friends.
And doing pretty well so far in the opening 2 minutes. Head by quite a lot.
I was just going to say that is way too much poison value that Tommy just gave. I mean, this deck has been pretty popular in grand challenges and on ladder since the balance update. Basically, giant minor poison control, and Tommy's still doing work on that left-hand tower.
Yeah, practically a tower trade, but Tommy still has some ground to make up, so has to defend on the right-hand side. This might be a 3 crown for Yeray.
This is exactly what we were just talking about. This is exactly what Fnatic needs. 3 crowns and game wins in King of the Hill and 1v1. And Yeray coming out doing just exactly that to start. Puts Fnatic on the right track.
Wow. Just an absolute wow. They drop the 2v2 set. Backs against the wall. Go ahead, tap Yeray, get him out there early, and does exactly what is asked for in the first game.
And Tommy looked like he was actually out to a lead for a moment there, but you saw that massive push on the right just kept getting bigger and bigger, and there were so many units not attended to because of the pressure Tommy was trying to create on the left. A minor goes to King, and you see Basoto there celebrating his teammate with a beautiful 3 crown to start this King of the Hill set. Here we go, B-rad up next against Yeray.
It's a big mountain to climb, but the first step taken by Yeray, moving his head-to-head record on the season to 12-5. And that's pretty nice, and an over 70% win rate. 13-5.
Yeah, very, very well played in that first game, and that 3 crown was massive for Fnatic and the implications for playoffs. Team Liquid obviously watching every single move that they make. So here we go, starting to see that Night Witch clone pop into CRL.
It was only a matter of time, Andrew. If there's a clone deck, it will show its face here.
Yep.
It will show its face everywhere, including my nightmares.
So we'll see if this is going to be a double witch clone deck or not. And yet I might really, really love having that Princess Mega Knight combo moving forward.
So Giant Skeleton, Night Witch, and there you go, and B-rad just keeping damage off tower using that NATO.
Yeah, very well played and recognizing he wouldn't be able to activate King, but wanted to mitigate the damage. Nice 3-for-3 trade, and we move on.
And that's just a really simple thing a lot of players don't do is with their Goblin Barrel, you'll see them always go surround or go surround early. Yeray having the advantage of already having seen the tornado. But just keep in mind, you can avoid a King Tower activation by playing on the outside.
And here we go. Now we're going to see just how quickly those bats mow through that Mega Knight. You saw it right there. The clone spawn bats from the Night Witch. An insane amount of damage. That Mega Knight was on the map for 3 seconds.
And this time a King Tower activation does come through. Yeray maybe being a little bit over-aggressive with the placement of that barrel.
Oh, and the Brawler sneaks through and gets one punch in on that Princess. Yeray not happy about that.
And that King Tower activation going to make things very challenging for Yeray. Of course, now he does have the freedom to place the barrel wherever he wants.
And a really nice connection there with that barrel.
Big clone coming in right-hand side. Second witch down.
Yeah, you know it's coming. There it is. And that Mega Knight's going to be gone in a second.
Mega Knight gone.
Look at even B-rad. You see B-rad shocked at how many units are on the board right now. And there you go. Fnatic going to get 3 crowned right after the 3 crown coming out.
Tower disappears, and so does Fnatic's hopes of moving into 3rd place on the season. Liquid has to be happy with that moment.
Yeah, and that was a great reaction from B-rad. His face lit up. He was honestly shocked at how quick the Mega Knight went down and how many units were on the board. That clone so devastating with the Night Witch, regular Witch combo. Mega Knights dropping like skeletons.
Clone, it will always provide some insane moments. We've seen so many here at CRL. That was one more. B-rad certainly happy with himself. Still king of the hill for at least one more game.
So here we go. Mikkel coming out against B-rad in our 3rd game of King of the Hill. And with that game loss, we do have our 6 teams locked in, but you're going to have to stick around to the end of the broadcast to see just exactly which 6 fall where and what that gauntlet is going to look like.
Or go back and watch the whole broadcast over one more time because the hints have been dropped. Fireball in and takes some Rascal Girls off the board.
Yeah, that Princess wasn't going to make it, but Mikkel doing the safe thing.
Mikkel has been solid this season, 7-7 in King of the Hill, but 16-8. Or I guess now 17-10 in 2v2. Did just have a big King of the Hill sweep over Dig in their last outing.
So Fisherman, a great counter for the Princess and placed exactly where it needed to be.
So first minute and a half away. Mikkel's done some big chunks with that Royal Giant. B-rad trying to spread him thin right now.
Yeah, and we'll see how B-rad actually ends up dealing with this RG, only having the log to kind of slow it down.
Bandit is an interesting addition to this bait deck. I mean, Dark Prince as well, if we're talking about unique pieces.
Yeah, I think this deck popped up a few months ago, but only for a little bit. It was kind of like a fun bridge spam / bait deck, and obviously being able to create a ton of pressure all over the board with Goblin Barrels, Bandits dashing, and things like that. We'll see how it fares today.
Royal Giant, right-hand lane, minions in support, Goblin Gang down, zapped away, and that's gonna be a fair amount. Log does knock the Royal Giant out of range. One more swing from the minion takes it down to 1180.
And I was gonna say that's gonna be a great fireball there for Mikkel.
Goblin barrel in. Valkyrie takes care of 2. Skeletons in the back take care of the 3rd.
And B-rad goes hyper aggressive at the river.
And gives away a ton of fireball value. Suddenly a lot on the board behind on Elixir. No idea how he plans to defend against this Royal Giant Witch push.
Yeah, and you thought maybe because the Valkyrie went left, he could go hard right, and Fireball comes down, but some to defend, Rich, but not very much. 418 remains.
Yeah, even with all that damage, did a better job than maybe expected in that moment.
So that Princess is just not going to be able to connect to tower, and another Royal Giant comes down, and the only thing you got is a log to slow things down.
And Royal Giant will get a shot off. B-rad knows it's over. Fireball will come in. Mikkel takes the win and takes B-rad off the tower.
See B-rad taking off his headset a little early, giving us a nice little round of applause to his opponent in Mikkel. And Fnatic with just one more person to go through to extend to that 3rd and final set, and it is Carter. Using a dead even 4-4 on the season, 15-20 in his career in King of the Hill.
Yeah, Carter really had high hopes for the transition over to Tribe this season. Did not work out exactly as they had planned, but definitely has some ideas ready for next season. But of course, still has to go through and get a couple more wins right now.
Yeah, interesting thing for Carter there, looking at his old squad and energy, finally making it through to the playoffs, to the promised land. And Carter here, game number 4, trying to prove his worth.
Mikkel taking what might feel like an empty win, but every single win is valuable when you care this much about Clash Royale.
Yeah, and moves his record into the positive now at 8-7 this season.
And there we go, more Ice Wiz. So new meta, old card back in the mix.
It's a nice 4 games in a row for Mikkel here in King of the Hill, which again just shows the strength and depth of Fnatic's roster.
Baby Dragon Executioner meet in front of the Princess Tower. And there we go, Exy behind the RG.
So Exy gonna chunk away at this giant skeleton. And NATO kind of doing what he wants.
The Ice Wiz really frustrating that entire push. You know, there was a time when Ice Wiz NATO Tombstone was basically the entire game.
Yep.
That time is no longer around, but you see Ice Wiz still very powerful, very useful, and in that case, pretty much was the key to stopping that push in the long run.
So far, Mikkel perfect through 1:40.
Carter with Ice Wiz, Baby Dragon, Giant Skeleton, maybe running Graveyard. Of course, if that's the case, that poison could be frustrating.
Yeah, Poison, Ice Spirit, Log, a lot of responses there.
And there you go, Giant Skeleton crosses and just barely picks up as a tank, but Poison down in response by Mikkel.
Yeah, so very little bit of damage in there, down to 2,400 HP, and Mikkel feeling good about that. Starts his RG push in the back. So this is a moment where you wonder how much that Executioner plus NATO combo is going to be used to take out these troops, and there we go. That is pretty close to what he wants. He wants to line up the Witch and the Ice Wizard there, ideally, and stops that push dead in its tracks.
Stops it, and if he can get this shot off, and he does, that's going to put him just a little bit ahead on Elixir Mikkel. Now goes with Poison on the Witch and tower damage as we move into sudden death overtime.
So you're going to see Mikkel here work very, very hard at making sure nothing crosses the river, and now Carter goes with the swerve opposite lane.
Yeah, Tornado pulls the Ice Wiz into that lane, doesn't really do much to help Mikkel. Down to 1284 on the right-hand side. Now Carter choosing to go left side instead.
Yeah, Ice Wiz getting pulled to the left, allowed for a little bit more focus to be set on the right, and just a little bit more damage in for Mikkel. And that Witch basically does not move. Looks like it was stuck by the giant skeleton.
And the Witch still alive. Skeleton's tanking, and she's getting all over tower.
Yeah, really nice Ice Spirit there to stop the bleeding for Mikkel, but just like that, Carter getting a little bit closer.
And Mikkel just trying to get in rhythm on this right-hand side. Carter doing a good job battling back. 2 minutes left in sudden death. An interesting cycle of that Executioner on the right-hand side. We'll see if that ends up paying off the way he wants it to. I don't believe it will, and gonna take a few more hit points of damage on the left.
Yeah, a nice high poison with the log, but still not able to clean up all those skeletons. Carter continues to narrow the gap.
And Royal Giant, Witch goes opposite direction. Goblin Cage to pull the Royal Giant. Ice Wiz to slow it down. And we should be seeing, no, Carter should hold off on the Graveyard in this instance. Maybe goes right-hand side now with all this support.
Yeah, he's probably looking for Mikkel to either overcommit or not commit enough in the right. He doesn't pay enough attention to it, so Carter sees an opening.
Poison saves so much damage. Final minute. Mikkel ahead in a good spot. Just has to defend for 45 more seconds.
Yeah, defend, cycle Executioner in the back, save your poison, do whatever you can.
And there you go, Carter, nothing to lose, just selling out. Poison goes high, so he might drop a Graveyard here. Baby Dragon still tanking.
Yeah, he just allows the Baby Dragon to connect to the tower, and now just barely in the lead. You know some skeletons are gonna get some hits.
And there you go, picking up the Executioner. So now we're probably in a spell race, and if they can both get poisons down, Carter's gonna take it. Ice Wiz turns away, Goblin Cage on the Royal Giant, poison down for Mikkel, poison down for Carter, but how will the ticks work?
RG does not get a hit. There's the log in, 478 to 488.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Mikkel comes away with 10 HP.
That is insane. The log gets in just in time. It really felt like that was going to be a steal for Carter. Instead, Mikkel takes the win and sends us to the 1v1 set.
That 10 HP, you saw Carter on the stand. He could not believe it. He took a nice lead at the very, very end, but Mikkel poured it on offensively. Carter could not get his poison down earlier, cycle around, get any more damage on that tower, and Mikkel walks away with 10 HP and takes a seat for the day.
And it's rough to say this, Andrew, but that might be the story of Carter in Clash Royale League. 10 HP. I feel like we've said 10 HP before about Carter back in Season 1. So many games just within double-digit hit points being the difference between win and loss, and that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, it's been the story of Energy for a long time, and now maybe just following Carter over to Tribe, a little bit of bad luck throughout the season with some misclicks, and again, having a little bit of difficulty with that phone and the curved screen, and you see right now just, again, bad luck, and your hat goes off to Carter. He played so very well this season. He played very well in that King of the Hill game and looked like he was going to have it, but Mikkel stays on top by 10 HP, and we're going to that 1v1 set.
Yeah, that was, I mean, look, he was in a hole, was Carter, battled back, got into it, but Yeray's so good, and the question now is, does Yeray come back out again for this 1v1 now that nothing's on the line, or do you send out the rookie Basoto and get him some game time experience?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting situation to be in. You don't really need to pick up a win, and a loss doesn't hurt you that much, so let's find out who each squad brings out in this final 1v1 set of the season.
So here we go, 1v1 set. And, you know, Andrew, I'm a bit surprised by this, throwing Yeray into this final set.
You're worried about him burning through his deck pool as they go into playoffs.
Worried about burning through deck pool. Most importantly, especially with playoffs being right here, you know, also give the guy a rest. I also like the idea of giving Basoto some reps.
Yeah, it's one interesting thing we've seen today is that not a lot of rookies coming out in big-time moments for their squads, and this actually not really being a big-time moment. I agree. I think you get Basoto back out there, let him get his feet wet before they go into playoffs. You never know where you're going to end up, never know when you're going to need him, and if you do make it to that final match, it's a BO5. And you know Basoto probably will come into one of those matches, or games, excuse me.
So running this very popular mortar deck. As I said earlier on today's broadcast, this Mortar Royal Hogs combination is one of the top 5 most popular mortar decks in the game right now. The other 4 being a Mortar Hog Rider deck and a Mortar Bait deck, and you see why it's so popular with how quickly that tower melted.
Yeah, and we're looking at something that resembles a mirror matchup, and honestly now Tommy is in basically a non-winnable situation in this game. You know, Yeray can now only hold his mortars for defense anytime Tommy tries to mortar up, and just going to be a really tough uphill battle here over the next minute 20.
Tommy cycling a snowball, not available now for those Royal Hogs.
And you see here, he can't play his mortar off far to the right. He's going to play it in the center now to hopefully provide a little bit of defense, but not able to get to that weaker tower with Princess Tower protection.
And you saw that Yeray didn't quite go for the move, but looked like he was almost trying to pull off that King Tower activation. You can activate King Tower against a high middle mortar, which doesn't help against the mortar, but certainly helps against the miner. And a nice snowball to retarget the miner onto that almost dead mortar.
Yeah, so Yeray looking to stay perfect here in 1v1.
Miner to the back, bats in. Snowball doesn't really get much of anything, but some more tower damage on the right-hand side.
And with this game win, Yeray will move to 7-0, and I do agree with probably not wanting to play him in a game that doesn't really matter if you're talking about the determining the outcome or the fate of Fnatic on the season.
Look, padding stats is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And adding a bit more to what has been an excellent 1v1 set campaign. You can't argue against that, so Yeray moves to 7-0, one more win. He will have a 4-0 set record, a perfect 8-0 in games, and would be one of the premier 1v1 set players of the season. Already is, but this would certainly add to that reputation.
I mean, I think I figured it out, Rich. It's that he's trying to pad his Fantasy Royale numbers. I mean, it's the last week. He wants to end up on top. Might as well take a few more crowns. And that was a great way to do it.
Sure, sure. And, you know, for those of you who got Yeray onto your Fantasy Royale teams, congratulations, because he's definitely had some great performances this season. I still have not changed my lineup all season and suffering for it a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. I'm in the exact same boat. And Tommy's record in 1v1 now moves to 4-5, looking to try to pick up a game here against Yeray.
Yeray looking for one more. Tommy, you can see a little frustrated, and it's been a real up and down season for Tommy. Has had some great performances in this 1v1 set, and a couple where he's just come up short. And of course, one that stands out is that 1v1 against Javi, where Tommy played great. Javi just played brilliantly.
Yeah, that's actually the best way to put it. And it wasn't really that Tommy lost that. It was more that Javi just won it by sheer will.
It's a great way to put it. Great way to put it indeed. Just a little insight after that 1v1 set. All 3 sets of casters, English, Spanish, and Portuguese, stood up and gave Javi a standing ovation, and then one to Tommy as well for his great performance in that match.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have, I've always said when talking about movies, you need to have a great villain to have a great hero, and that was one of those moments where Tommy played so incredibly well that it really showcased how much better Javi played. And that seemed impossible because of how Tommy was in that game, in that set. And just a very interesting season for him. He said up and down. It's been basically dead even at 9-9 in King of the Hill before this game, or before this match, in 4-4, and just not really able to stay in the positive column.
So Mortar Miner again for Tommy. Lumberloon with Witch for Yeray.
Yeah, Tommy feeling like he did not get to really showcase how he plays with this deck in that last game. And you saw the wow from Yeray early on. Surprised Tommy just decided to run it right back.
We've seen a little more Barb Barrel lately, you know, after the nerf took a big hit in usage rates.
Yeah, and it's because of that card right there in the Witch. The Barb Barrel, great at cleaning up the skeletons, and when timed correctly, will get the Barb right on the Witch.
And interesting to note that the Barb Barrel nerf came at the exact same time as the rise of Expo. So we'll see if Barb Barrel coming back in a bit more in response to the Witch maybe lowers some success and or use rates of Expo decks.
That's a very interesting point. So Yeray trying to hit with the balloon on the left, but instead takes a lot of mortar damage on the right.
And Tommy just not worried at all about saving that balloon to deal, or saving that mortar to deal with these balloons.
Yeah, he's just gonna opt to the Musketeer plus Snowball Bats combination, and honestly, with how quick the deck cycles, if he needs to, he may just get right back around to mortar. There it is.
That's a brilliant Barb Barrel to get in onto the Musketeer. Don't know if it'll pull off the full job that Yeray is hoping for, and it doesn't, but those bats are all over tower, some death damage as well.
Yeah.
And just like that, Yeray is back in this game.
That was really surprising. You know, everything seemed to focus on the balloon, which ended up tanking for the Barb and the bats. And Tommy thinking he might have had it locked down when he took out the big threat, but those cheap cards coming in and doing work for Yeray.
The bats Yeray just played were absolutely brilliant. They distracted the Musketeer on the left-hand lane, turned it inward, got it so that some princess damage took it out, and helped support the damage on that mortar. Everything about that 2 elixir worked out perfectly for Yeray.
Yeah, and then you saw Yeray send in that crazy lumberjack at the end, gets raged up and gets in and actually gets a couple swings in on the tower, brings it down to 486. Yeray very close to being able to close this out, but not with that mortar locking on.
Miner in, mortar on as well. Lumberjack trying to save this tower, but now it's in poison range, and Tommy is going to take the first 1v1 game off Yeray this season.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeray has been completely perfect in this set and now moves to 7-1. Tommy improves his record to 5-5, which again talks about being dead even all season, not being able to translate his talent to his record, but still in a position to take this match away from number 4, Fnatic.
Yeray taking a quick drink of water, getting himself ready for this game 3. It really felt like he had taken control, but the Mortar Miner in that last moment just put it within poison range, and you saw the patience of Tommy not busting that poison out until it was the finishing move.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful coup de grace, as they say, and Yeray and Tommy here going into the 3rd and final game of 1v1.
And here we are, the final game of the regular season Clash Royale League West Fall 2019.
Yeah, and what an insane day of matches it's been. We've gone the distance, we've gone close to the distance, we've seen teams move on the standings, and I'm sad it's over.
Well, Andrew, we still have the regional finals, which will be so much fun, and then of course World Finals in December. It'll be a little break for us and for the players and for the fans, but I am certainly looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what happens with the Elixir Golem moving forward. I really, really can't. The fact that it's available for World Finals, very interesting.
I have a feeling we'll be in the heal meta by that point.
You've been pushing for it all season long.
Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me, Balance.
And that poison may be a little early. Oh, nope, Snowball comes in and does the exact job that Tommy kind of needed it to do, but you can see 1100 HP missing from that tower.
Yeah, Yeray took out a big chunk, gives the kiss. Might have dropped a game, has no intention of dropping a set.
Goes Miner to the safe spot, takes out one Skelly and gets back on Princess Tower.
Reaching the midway point of regulation, and Yeray certainly ahead by quite a bit. And Giant will walk right through that poison, which should survive, and she does. Zapped off the board.
Yeah, and a zap used that time instead of the high Valkyrie because of the Mega Minion that Tommy dropped it. You saw last time what Yeray did to respond, and this time wanted to take that Valkyrie play out of Yeray's arsenal.
And Tommy would have loved to play that snowball maybe 1 or 2 tiles up and in to push the Brawler away from the Miner. Instead, pushes it directly into the Miner, gets it off the board.
And you can expect that Miner to go right to the Witch. There it is, and it will get pulled away, but the Witch out of commission.
Snowball in, does not take off the pups. Princess Tower finishes the job. We are into the final 25 seconds, and Tommy trying to find a way to battle back.
Yeah, Tommy needs to switch lanes. He can't just keep going into that push of the Lava Hound. He's ending up on bottom every single time, not getting the best of those exchanges, and he's at a massive, massive deficit damage-wise.
Giant comes through with a couple big punches, starts to even things up.
Yeray's tower separated by 1 HP. Miner goes in.
Yeah, Tommy trying to keep the pressure on, not let Yeray build up anything significant.
And as long as Yeray's Miners don't get caught a handful of times, he decides to pull the trigger on the Lava Hound, so just going for it.
Yeah, going ahead, getting aggressive. Not even worried about defense on the right-hand side. Believes he can win this race, and
Yep.
he will.
He will.
Yeray stays perfect in 1v1 sets, 5-0 on the season. Ends his fall campaign with a win.
Yeah, and that moves Fnatic to 8-3. A great record for them, an exciting season. It'll be really nice to see Faye and Mikkel go into 2v2 in playoffs and see exactly how they can translate the success in the regular season to our gauntlet-style format in playoffs.
Yeah, they have a long road to try to go up, though. They have to beat the winner of 5-6,
Yep.
and then they have to beat 3, and then they have to beat 2, and that's just to get into World Finals.